All right, let's take a look at how we can divide fractions by fractions. So first, let's start by just taking a look at, regular division with some integers here. So if we have 12 divided by 4, I know everybody knows how to do this already, but we can think of 12 put into groups of 4, or how many times are we able to take groups of 4 out of 12, right? So here's 12 rectangles here in this array, and we have we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this would be one group of 4. This would be two groups of 4, and this would be three groups of 4. So 12 divided by 4 is 3 because we're able to take 4 out 3 times. And I know that's review, just looking at that idea a little bit here. So here we're going to do 20 divided by 4. So we have 20 cameras here, and we're going to see how many groups of 4 we can get. And I know you already know what 20 divided by 4 is, but let's just see what we got here. So if we take out groups of 4, 1, 2, 3, I feel like I'm playing Tetris here. All right, how many groups did I get? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so dividing with fractions is the same idea. Let's take a look at this. So let's say we have 2/3. Right, we have 2/3, and we want to divide that by 1/3. So what we're trying to think of is how many times is this 1/3 here going to fit into 2/3? And we can actually bring it over here, and we can see it'll go in once, twice. It lines up perfectly twice, right? So if we have 2/3, we can take out 1/3 twice, just like in multiplication. So this is not the same example here, but let's just look over here. What if we had like 2/3 times 1/3? Well, we learned in multiplication that we can get this answer just going right across. So 2 times 1 is 2, 3 times 3 is 9. And that's another lesson. So if this isn't comfortable for you, that's something that we should make sure we work on. But division, this is the same. We can do 2 divided by 1 is 2. And right across, 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 2 divided by 1, or 2 over 1, is just 2 wholes. So how many times will 1/3 go into 2/3? It'll go in 2 whole times. We have 4/5. Okay, and we want to divide that by 2/5. So how many times will 2/5? Let me see if my marker will work for me here. How many times can we take this out of here? So we could, here's one group of it, right? And here's another group of it. So do you see that we could take 2/5 out of 4/5 twice? Okay, 2/5 will fit into 4/5 2 times. And if we just divide across, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. So it'll go in 2 whole times. 5/8 divided by 2/8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5/8, and we want to divide by 2/8. Okay, how many times are my 2/8 going to fit into 5/8? Well, here's 2/8. Here's 2/8. But it won't go in perfectly. I don't have enough to fit another 2/8. Okay, I could fit one more 1/8. So 2/8 will go into 5/8. It'll go in 2 whole times, but then I can only fit another half of it. So it's 2 1/2. So I'm going to write that down over here. And let's see what it looks like when we do it over here. 8 divided by 8 is 1. And then up here we have 5 divided by 2. See how it doesn't go in evenly? 5 is not divisible by 2. So 5 divided by 2 is the same as 5/2. So we could write it like that, or 5/2. Or we could say 5 divided by 2. Well, 2 goes into 5 2 whole times, and then I still have 1/2 left. All right, here, 6/7 divided by 5/7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/7 divided by 5/7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how many times is that 5/7 going to fit in the 6/7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'll go in 1 whole time, right? And then I only have enough for one of these, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So it'll go in 1 whole time, and then I have 1/5 of another one. So it's going to be 1 and 1/5. And let's look at how that plays out over here. So 7 divided by 7 is 1. And then in the numerator, we have 6 divided by 5, or that's 6/5, right? And if we change that, how many times does 5 go into 6? It goes in one whole time, and then there's 1/5 left. So here we have different denominators, right? Let's take a look at what that looks like. All right, so if we bring this over here, let's try to see. Do you see how that third does not line up nicely with our fifths there, right? So we can't say, well, that's going to fit in this many times. It's not going to work nicely for us. But we have some tools that we know we can use when we're working with fractions. And if we find a common denominator, we know that these pieces would be talking about same size pieces, right? So what is the common denominator between fifths and thirds? Change these both into 15ths, right? So if I take the thirds overlay, if I break this fifths into thirds, okay, now I have 15ths there. So I had 5, and when I put the thirds the other way, what I just did there is I multiplied this times 3 over 3. And remember, this is the same as 1, so I did not change the value of my 3/5 at all. I just changed what it looked like. So now I still have the same amount shaded, but instead of 3 pieces out of 5, now I have 9 pieces out of 15. All right, and now for the 1/3, how are we going to get that to 15ths? We're going to put the fifths overlay over it. Right, now I have 15ths there too. So I multiplied this by 1, but 5/5, and now I have 5/15. Okay, so now I see I have this group of 5, and how many times can I fit that into that group of 9? So I have, all right, so let's see. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see how many times we can take 5 out over here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's one group of 5, right? And then here we can only take out 1, 2, 3, 4. So we don't have enough to make another group of 5. So we were able to take out one whole group of 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4/5 of another group of 5, right? All right, and let's look at what happens when we solve this by dividing across. 15 divided by 15 is 1, and up here we have 9 divided by 5. Okay, and this is the same as 9/5, okay, which is the same as 9 divided by 5. How many times does 5 go into 9? It goes in one time. And when I have 4 left over, now I have 4/5 still left. So 1/3 will fit into 3/5 one whole time, and then we'll have 4/5 of another 1/3 left. So let's get our 8s. We have 6 of them. And then our thirds, we have 2 of them. All right, so how many times is our 2/3 going to fit into 6/8? So we can see here it'll go in at least once. So we'll go in one whole time and then a fraction part of another time, right? So are we able to change thirds into 8s? We are not. So what we can do is find a common denominator. So the first number that they will both go into, if I count by 8s, I can say my next one is 6. My next multiple of 8 is 16, which 3 won't go into evenly. And then my next one is 24, which 3 goes into evenly. So I'm going to multiply my 8s times 3 over 3, and that'll get me to 24. So I have 24, 18 24ths. And then this one will multiply by 8 over 8, and we have 16 24ths. And let's see what that looks like over here. So our 8s we multiplied by 3/3, and then our thirds we multiplied by 8/8. Okay, so now we can see for both of these we have 24ths. Over here we have 16 24ths, and over here I have 18. So I can see that I'm going to be able to take out 16 of them, and then I still have 2 left, right? So I can take out 16 one whole time, and then I still have 2 of my 16ths left. So over here we go 24 divided by 24 is 1, and then this is 18 divided by 16, right? So this is the same as 18/16, and 18 divided by 16, it'll go in one whole time, and we have 2/16 left. All right, let's try a few practice problems. So why don't you take a minute and try to work through these problems and then hit play when you think you have the answer. All right, so let's take a look at these. So we have 4/3 divided by 1/3. And I know as you keep doing these, you might not need the overlays. Yeah, you might not need the fraction overlays, but it's a good idea to try to get used to using them so you see what's happening here. So 4/3, I actually need to get 2 of these because it's more than one whole, right? So I have 4/3 and I'm dividing it by 1/3. So how many times will 1/3 fit into 4/3? Right? And we can see here it'll fit in 1, 2, 3, 4. This will fit into these 4 times. So the answer is going to be 4. And if we divide right across, we can see 4 divided by 1 is 4, 3 divided by 3 is 1. 4 over 1, or 4 wholes, is just 4. All right, let's take a look at the next one. We have 5/6 divided by 1/2. So how many times is 1/2 going to fit in a 5/6? Well, we see it'll go in 1 whole time. That takes up 3 of them, and a little bit of another one. We don't have enough to do another 1/2 again. So let's find a common denominator. And if we look at this one, I know I can change my halves to 6 if I put a 3rd overlay there. So I'm going to multiply this by 3/3 and put that here. All right, so now I have 6. So how many times can I take this group of 3 out of this group over here? Well, I have one group of 3, so that's 1, 2, 3. I can take it out 1 time, but now I can only take out 2 more. So I can take it out 1 whole time, and then only 2/3 of the next group of 3 can come out. And when we do this across, let's rewrite this. We have 5/6 divided by 3/6. So we end up with 5 divided by 3 over 1, which is 5/3. And if we have 5/3, we have 1 whole. That would be 3/3. And then I have 2/3 left. All right, so for this one, we have 2/3. And we are dividing it by a 4th. So how many times will this 4th fit into 2/3? So it'll go in once, at least twice, and probably a little bit of another time, right? So let's find a common denominator. I can't change 3rds into 4ths. So I have to go for the next multiple of 4 is 8, which 3 won't go into, and then I can go to 12. They both go into 12. So I'll multiply this one by 4/4, and this one by 3/3. So we end up with 8/12 divided by 3/12. And over here, let's make these look like 12ths. So we're putting our 4th overlay over our 3rds. Okay, and now that shows us that we have 8/12 there. And then we are putting our 3rd overlay over our 4ths. And we have 3/12. So you can see we have 8/12 and 3/12. So now I see over here, I have this group of 3. I can take it out 1, 2, 3. There's one group of 3. 1, 2, 3. That's another group of 3. And I can only take out 2/3 of the next one, right? I can only fit 2 out of 3. All right, so it comes out 2 whole times and 2/3 of a time. Or we have 8 divided by 3 over 1, and that's 8/3. 3 goes into 8 twice, that gets us to 6, and there's still 2/3 left.